Captain Veltar stared at the blue planet spinning slowly in the darkness of space. His ship, the Galactic Harmony, had been watching this world for 3 months now. The radio signals coming from the planet confused him more each day. "Show me the reports again," he said to his science officer, Kethlon. The tall, crystal-skinned alien touched her control panel. Numbers and words appeared in the air between them. "The signals are very strange, Captain. Some talk about cooking food and taking care of children. Others talk about making art and music. These sound like civilian activities." Veltar nodded. In all his years exploring the galaxy, he had learned that species fell into clear groups. Civilians were peaceful beings who grew food, made art, and raised young ones. They never fought. Predators were dangerous hunters who killed for food or territory. Warrior castes were specially trained soldiers who protected the civilians. "But then we have these other signals," Kethlon continued. Her voice grew worried. "They talk about wars that killed millions of beings. They discuss weapons that can destroy entire cities. They plan military attacks with great skill." The captain's tentacles curled with stress. Perhaps 2 different species share this planet? The peaceful civilians and the dangerous predators. "That must be it," agreed Navigator Thindar from across the bridge. "We have never found a species that is both civilian and predator. It is impossible." Veltar walked to the large window that showed the planet below. White clouds swirled over green and brown land masses. It looked peaceful enough. "We will follow standard procedures. Make contact with the civilian population first. Avoid the predator territories completely." "Sir," called Communications Officer Zarlon, "I am picking up more transmissions. These beings call themselves humans. Some of the signals come from what they call schools and hospitals. These must be civilian areas." "Good. Set course for the most peaceful region you can find. Look for areas with the least weapon signatures." The ship moved closer to the planet. As they got nearer, the signals became clearer. The aliens could hear individual human voices now. Some talked about growing plants. Others discussed teaching children to read. Many spoke about creating beautiful things like paintings and songs. "Perfect civilian behavior," said Kethlon with relief. "These must be the peaceful ones." But then other signals came through the speakers. The same voices that had talked about art and children now discussed something called hunting season. They spoke casually about weapons maintenance and combat training. They shared stories about military service as if it were perfectly normal. "I do not understand," whispered Thindar. The same voice just talked about baking food for children, then explained how to clean a projectile weapon. Veltar felt a chill run through his body. The translator must be malfunctioning. Civilians do not handle weapons. It is against their nature. Kethlon checked her equipment twice. "No, Captain. The translator is working perfectly. These beings really do speak of both peaceful and violent activities." The captain made a decision that would haunt him for months to come. They must be a mixed population living together. "We will land near the agricultural areas. Farmers are always civilians. They grow food and live peaceful lives." The ship descended through the atmosphere. Below them spread green fields and small buildings. Perfect civilian territory. Their scanners showed no major weapons, no military installations, just simple dwellings and crop cultivation. "There," pointed Kethlon to a small house surrounded by growing plants. "Our sensors show adult humans and several young ones. Classic civilian family unit." As they prepared to land, they intercepted more human communications. A female voice was teaching young humans about mathematics. A male voice discussed repairing farming equipment. Everything seemed wonderfully normal and safe. "Remember," Veltar told his team, "we are meeting civilians. They will be gentle, perhaps frightened. Use friendship protocols. Keep all weapons powered down. Show empty hands and peaceful intentions." The diplomatic shuttle touched down in a field near the human dwelling. Through the clear walls they could see the human family. The adult male worked among the plants while the female prepared food. Small humans played in the yard. It looked exactly like civilian behavior on 1,000 other worlds. "Perfect," said Veltar as he checked his translation device one last time. A peaceful first contact with a civilian population. What could go wrong? The team of 5 aliens stepped out of their shuttle. They wore their brightest diplomatic robes and carried gifts of friendship. The universal translator hummed softly as they approached the simple farmhouse where the human family lived. The male human noticed them first. He straightened up from his work and looked in their direction. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Then something changed in the human's posture. His relaxed stance shifted into something the alien's behavioral sensors could not properly identify. "This is it," Veltar whispered to his team. Our first contact with a civilian species that shares their world with predators. How fortunate that we found the peaceful ones first. He activated his translation device and prepared to make galactic history. In a few minutes, he would learn that every assumption he had made about human classification was dangerously wrong. The simple farmer standing 50 meters away was about to teach the Galactic Confederation that their understanding of species development had a massive, potentially deadly blind spot. The blue planet continued to spin peacefully in space, unaware that it was about to force the galaxy's most advanced civilizations to completely rewrite their textbooks on intelligent life. The diplomatic team walked slowly across the green field toward the human dwelling. Captain Veltar felt confident about this first contact. His scanners showed no weapons nearby. The human family appeared to be doing exactly what civilians did on every peaceful world, growing food and caring for young ones. The human male noticed them approaching. He was average height with brown hair, wearing simple work clothes. He had been tending to some kind of crop plants. Everything about him screamed harmless farmer to the alien team. Remember, Veltar whispered to his crew, friendly gestures only. These are civilians. They probably have never seen violence in their entire lives. The human male walked toward them, wiping dirt from his hands with a cloth. Behind him, the female human was visible through a window, preparing what looked like food. Small human children played in the yard with colorful objects. Tom, who are those people? The female called from inside the dwelling. The male human Tom stopped walking. Something shifted in his body language. The alien's behavioral scanners began sending confused readings. The human still looked peaceful, but there was a new alertness in his eyes that their equipment could not properly classify. Sarah, take the kids inside, Tom called back to his mate. His voice carried a tone that made the universal translator stutter. What's wrong? Sarah appeared in the doorway holding a small human child. Just take them inside. No. Please. The change was subtle but disturbing. Tom had not drawn any weapons. Their sensors confirmed he carried none. He had not made threatening gestures. But every predator warning system the diplomatic team possessed began sending quiet alerts. Captain Veltar decided to proceed with the standard greeting. Greetings, peaceful being. We come from the Galactic Confederation. We wish to speak with your civilian leaders. Tom's expression shifted to what the translator could only interpret as darkly amused. He looked at the 5 aliens in their bright diplomatic robes and shook his head slightly. Civilian leaders, he repeated slowly. You guys really don't know what you're dealing with, do you? We seek only peaceful contact with your non-violent population, Kethlon said quickly. We understand your world has dangerous predator species, but we wish to avoid them completely. Tom stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something that would require months of therapy for the entire alien crew to recover from. He laughed. It was not a happy sound. Lady, I hate to break it to you, but you're looking at your predator species right now. The aliens exchanged confused glances. This made no sense. Tom appeared to be a simple food grower. Their scanners showed him to be unarmed. His dwelling contained no military equipment. How could he be a predator? Surely you jest, said Veltar. Our readings show you are engaged in agricultural activities. You tend crops. You care for offspring. These are classic civilian behaviors. Yeah, I grow vegetables, Tom agreed. I also did 2 tours in Afghanistan as infantry before I came home to farm. Sarah there was an army medic before she became a teacher. We're both what you'd call civilians now, but that doesn't mean we forgot our other training. The words meant nothing to the aliens. Their databases contain no reference to Afghanistan, or this concept of civilians who had military experience. On every world they had encountered, civilians were born civilians and remained civilians their entire lives. This is impossible, whispered Navigator Thindar. Civilians do not possess combat knowledge. Tom heard the whisper through the translator. His expression grew more serious. Look, I don't want any trouble here. My kids are in that house. My wife is in that house. You seem peaceful enough, but I don't know your intentions. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay right where you are while I figure out if you're a threat. What happened next broke every model the Galactic Confederation had for understanding species behavior. Tom moved. The motion was so fast and controlled that the alien sensors initially registered it as an equipment malfunction. One moment he was standing 10 meters away, apparently relaxed. The next moment, 2 of their security specialists were on the ground, disarmed and restrained, while Tom held their weapons with casual familiarity. The entire sequence took less than 5 seconds. Tom? Sarah's voice called from the house. Are you okay out there? "Everything's fine, honey," Tom called back, not taking his eyes off the remaining aliens. "Just having a conversation with our visitors." Sarah appeared beside him so quickly that the aliens wondered if humans could teleport. She carried what their scanners identified as a medical kit, but her positioning and alertness suggested military training that matched Tom's display. "Infantry," she said, looking at Tom's restraint techniques with professional approval. "Marine? Army Rangers. You. Combat Medic 82nd Airborne. Before nursing school." The captured aliens lay motionless, too shocked to struggle. Their companions stood frozen as Sarah began checking them for injuries with movements that were simultaneously caring and tactically sound. "I used to patch up soldiers who got hurt," Sarah explained to the terrified diplomats as she treated their minor bruises. "Now I teach kindergarten and help people at the local clinic. But you don't forget certain skills." She looked up at Captain Veltar with eyes that were kind but alert. "Your friends will be fine. Tom knows how to restrain without causing permanent damage. But you need to understand something. There's no such thing as a helpless human civilian. We all learn to protect what matters to us." Tom released the captured aliens who scrambled back to their captain. "Sorry about that," he said, sounding genuinely apologetic. "But unknown entities approaching my family triggers certain responses. It's not personal." The diplomatic team huddled together, trying to process what they had witnessed. These were not predators in the sense they understood. But they were also not civilians by any definition that made sense. "They're both," whispered Keflon in horror. "Somehow they're both." Dr. Elwesis Andra established her observation station high above Earth, hidden behind the planet's largest moon. For 3 weeks, she had been watching human settlements through powerful scanners, desperate to find the truth about this confusing species. "There must be a way to tell them apart," she muttered to her assistant, Dr. Funtalk. "Every species has clear divisions. We just need to find the markers that separate their civilians from their predators." The first human they studied was named Kate Wilson. Each morning she entered a large building filled with small humans. Through their scanners they watched her teach the young ones about numbers and letters. She spoke gently, helped them with difficult tasks, and even comforted crying children. Perfect civilian behavior. "See." Dr. Elwesis Andra pointed at the screen. "This one is clearly a civilian. She cares for offspring that are not even her own. She shows infinite patience. She creates learning materials with artistic skill." But that evening they followed Kate to her dwelling. In her backyard, she opened a secure container and removed what their scanners identified as a high-powered projectile weapon. Kate disassembled the weapon, cleaned each part with expert precision, and reassembled it faster than most Confederation soldiers could manage. "The scanner must be malfunctioning," Dr. Funtalk said weakly. They continued watching. Kate practiced shooting at targets in her yard, her accuracy rating better than elite military units. When her neighbor asked about the noise, Kate explained she was preparing for something called hunting season, and that her father had taught her gun safety when she could barely hold a rifle. "This makes no sense," Dr. Elwesis Andra whispered. "The same being who teaches children literature maintains weapons with military precision." They switched their focus to another human, James Parker. He spent his mornings in a university, teaching older humans about poetry and ancient literature. He helped them understand beautiful writings and encouraged creative thinking. His afternoon hours were spent creating art in his home studio. "Another civilian," Dr. Funtalk said with relief. "Look how he appreciates beauty and helps others learn." But 3 evenings per week, James traveled to a training facility where he taught hand-to-hand combat techniques to other humans. His movements showed decades of martial arts experience. His tactical awareness during these sessions rivaled their own security specialists. "He is a literature professor who fights like a warrior," Dr. Elwesis Andra said, her voice hollow with confusion. "How is this possible?" The breakthrough came during what humans called a neighborhood barbecue. The research team observed dozens of humans gathering in a residential area for social activities. Elderly humans discussed gardening techniques while sharing stories of past military service. Young humans played games that, when analyzed, revealed sophisticated strategic thinking and pack coordination tactics. Adults prepared food while casually discussing emergency preparedness and home defense strategies. Children as young as 10 demonstrated situational awareness that impressed the alien observers. "Look at this carefully," Dr. Elwesis Andra told her team. "Every age group displays both civilian and combat-related behaviors simultaneously." Then the incident happened that changed everything. 3 unknown humans approached the gathering. The alien sensors immediately identified hostile intent, elevated stress indicators, concealed weapons, aggressive posturing. These were clearly predators preparing to attack the civilian gathering. What followed destroyed every assumption the Galactic Confederation had about species classification. The transformation was instantaneous. The elderly human named Robert Hayes, who moments before had been showing children how to plant flowers, moved between the threats and the young humans. His positioning and alertness revealed decades of combat experience hidden beneath his grandfather appearance. Kate Wilson, the kindergarten teacher, appeared with her hunting rifle in under 30 seconds. James Parker, the poetry professor, coordinated the evacuation of non-combatants with military precision that would have impressed Confederation tactical instructors. But the most disturbing aspect was how natural it all seemed. No one panicked. No one seemed surprised that their neighbors possessed these capabilities. The elderly flower gardener, the children's teacher, and the poetry professor worked together like a trained military unit. The hostile humans retreated without violence, apparently recognizing they were outmatched. Within minutes, the gathering returned to cooking food and social conversation as if nothing unusual had occurred. "Send an emergency message to Confederation Command," Dr. Alwesisandra ordered, her voice shaking. "We need xenopsychology specialists immediately." Dr. Funtalk stared at the screens showing humans calmly resuming their barbecue. "What do we tell them? Tell them we were wrong about everything. These humans don't have separate civilian and predator populations. Every single one of them is both. That grandmother baking treats for children just demonstrated tactical skills that match our elite guards. That man teaching literature just coordinated a defensive response better than most of our military officers." Over the following days they observed more examples. A human nurse named David Chin showed extraordinary compassion while treating injured patients. The same individual maintained combat reflexes that kept him alive during dangerous emergency calls and possessed muscle memory for fighting techniques learned in his youth. A human named Mary O'Brien taught mathematics to children during the day and practiced marksmanship in the evenings, viewing both as essential life skills. When asked through intercepted communications, she explained that responsible adults prepare for both teaching and protecting. "They integrate these capabilities," Dr. Alwesisandra reported to her superiors. "Other species separate their roles. Our civilians create beauty while our warriors provide protection. But humans combine both functions in every individual." The implications terrified her. An entire species where every member possessed both creative and destructive capabilities. Where grandparents who baked cookies also maintained tactical awareness. Where teachers who nurtured children also trained for combat scenarios. "We need to reclassify this entire species," she concluded her report. "They have forced us to acknowledge that our understanding of intelligent life has a massive blind spot. These beings are simultaneously the most peaceful and most dangerous species we have ever encountered." Dr. Morthak and Dr. Silvana arrived at the observation station with the largest team of xenopsychologists the Confederation had ever assembled. The data they reviewed over the following weeks would change how the galaxy understood intelligent life forever. "Show us the human genetic analysis," Dr. Morthak requested. As the galaxy's leading expert on predator species, he had studied every dangerous creature known to the Confederation. Dr. Alwesisandra activated the holographic display. This is where it gets interesting. Humans evolved as something called persistence hunters. They chased prey animals across vast distances until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. Classic predator development, Dr. Morthak nodded. But where did they diverge into civilian and predator castes? "That's the problem," Dr. Silvana said softly. As an expert on civilian populations, she had been studying the peaceful aspects of human behavior. They never diverged. They kept both traits. The display showed human evolutionary history. Unlike every other known species, humans had retained their hunting instincts while developing complex social structures, advanced tool use, and emotional bonds that triggered fierce protective responses. "Look at their brain structure," Dr. Alwesisandra pointed to detailed scans. "Most species develop specialized neural pathways. Civilians have enhanced creativity and cooperation centers. Predators have enhanced hunting and aggression centers. Warriors have specialized tactical processing areas. But humans?" Dr. Morthak asked, though he already suspected the answer. "They have all of it. Every human brain contains fully developed creativity centers, social bonding networks, tactical processing capability, and threat assessment systems. They use all these systems simultaneously." Dr. Silvana pulled up behavioral observations. "Watch this human named Lisa Martinez. She spends her morning teaching art to children, showing infinite patience and creativity. That afternoon, she practices combat drills with other humans who call themselves weekend warriors. The footage showed Lisa helping small children create colorful paintings, her face gentle and encouraging. Hours later, the same woman was learning military tactics and weapons handling with focused intensity. The same neural pathways that help her understand a child's emotional needs also help her assess threats, Dr. Silvana explained. The same creativity she uses for art, she applies to tactical problems. Dr. Morthak studied footage of a human named Robert Chin. This individual works as what they call a software engineer. He creates complex computer programs. Pure civilian activity. Keep watching, Dr. Elwes Sandra said grimly. The same Robert Chin was shown teaching his young daughter how to identify dangerous situations and escape routes wherever they went. He had turned their home into what military analysts would recognize as a defensive position, while making it appear like a normal family dwelling. He thinks like a tactician even while living as a civilian, Dr. Morthak whispered. The same mind that creates beautiful technology also plans for worst-case scenarios. The team reviewed hundreds of hours of human behavior. A human grandmother named Helen Thompson baked cookies for neighborhood children while maintaining situational awareness that would impress Confederation security officers. A human teenager named Michael Davis played musical instruments with artistic skill while demonstrating combat reflexes during sports activities. Their literature provides the clearest evidence, Dr. Silvana said, accessing human cultural databases. Look at their children's stories. The hologram displayed human fairy tales and legends. Unlike other species stories that featured specialized heroes, human tales celebrated characters who were both gentle and fierce. Their songs contained lullabies about protection and loyalty. Their heroes were not professional warriors but ordinary individuals who chose to defend what they loved. They teach their children that being peaceful and being dangerous are not opposites, Dr. Silvana observed. They view both as necessary parts of being a complete person. Dr. Morthak accessed military communications from human armed forces. Even their professional soldiers maintain civilian identities. They return from combat to become teachers, artists, parents, farmers. The same individuals who demonstrate lethal capabilities in warfare create beauty and nurture life during peacetime. One recording showed a human soldier named Captain Sarah Johnson discussing her post-military plans. When I finish my tour, I want to teach elementary school. Kids need someone who understands both how to protect them and how to help them grow. She doesn't see these as conflicting goals, Dr. Morthak noted. To her, being able to protect children and being able to educate them are both essential parts of caring for them. The xenopsychology team spent days analyzing human family structures. Parents taught their children to create art, show kindness, and solve problems peacefully. The same parents also taught survival skills, self-defense, and threat awareness. They don't separate these teachings, Dr. Silvana reported. A human father teaches his daughter to paint beautiful pictures and to break an attacker's wrist with equal care and attention. Dr. Morthak reviewed communications between human couples. Listen to this conversation between married humans. The female says, "I love how gentle you are with the children." The male replies, "I love how fierce you become when they're threatened." They view both traits as expressions of love. The final piece of evidence came from human emergency response records. During natural disasters, ordinary humans demonstrated both incredible compassion and tactical efficiency. Teachers became evacuation coordinators. Artists became medical assistants. Farmers became rescue specialists. They adapt their roles based on what their community needs, Dr. Elwes Sandra explained. The same person who writes poetry during peacetime becomes a tactical coordinator during crisis. Dr. Morthak and Dr. Silvana looked at each other with growing understanding and fear. "We've been wrong about everything," Dr. Morthak said finally. "We assume species must specialize to survive. But humans prove that integration can be more effective than specialization. Every human is a potential artist, protector, creator, and warrior," Dr. Silvana added. "They don't choose one identity, they choose to be complete beings capable of responding to whatever life requires." The implications were staggering. A species where every grandmother was also a potential guardian. Where every teacher was also a tactical thinker. Where every artist was also prepared to fight for their community. "We need to brief Confederation Command immediately," Dr. Morthak concluded. "This species doesn't fit any known classification because they've evolved beyond our understanding of how intelligent life should develop." The Galactic Confederation Council chamber had never been so packed. Representatives from 300 species filled every seat as Council Leader Rexthon prepared to announce the most important classification decision in galactic history. After 6 months of intensive study, Rexthon began, his voice carrying across the vast chamber, "We have reached a conclusion about the species known as humans." The silence was complete. Every being in the chamber understood that this decision would affect how they interacted with Earth for generations to come. Traditional classifications have proven inadequate, Rexthon continued. Humans cannot be classified as civilians because they possess instincts and capabilities that rival our most dangerous predator species. They cannot be classified as predators because they spend most of their time in peaceful, creative, nurturing activities. They cannot be classified as warriors because they are not a military caste but an entire species where every individual embodies multiple natures. Ambassador Crixtal of the Peaceful Altrurian Federation raised a tentacle. "What are you proposing, Council Leader?" "We hereby establish a new classification, dual nature sentience. Earth humans represent the first and only known example of this category." The chamber erupted in concerned chatter. Representatives whispered frantically to their advisors. Some species had never encountered anything that challenged their understanding so completely. "What does this mean for diplomatic contact?" asked Ambassador Velshan of the Crystalline Consortium. "It means we approach them with extreme caution," Rexthon replied. "Not because they are hostile, but because their definition of civilian includes capabilities that we reserve for elite military units." The human delegation entered the chamber at that moment. Led by Ambassador Lisa Thompson, the group included 5 other humans representing different aspects of Earth society. What disturbed many alien observers was how normal they appeared while possessing such unusual classification. Ambassador Thompson approached the speaking platform. She was a middle-aged human female with graying hair and kind eyes. Her biographical data showed she had been a military colonel before becoming a university professor specializing in international relations. "Honored representatives," she began, "we understand our classification has caused confusion. We would like to explain our perspective." The chamber fell silent again. This was the first time most species had heard humans speak for themselves. "We don't see ourselves as having dual nature," Ambassador Thompson continued. "We see ourselves as having complete nature. The same love that drives us to create art and raise children also drives us to defend them. The same curiosity that leads us to explore space also leads us to develop better ways to protect what we value." She gestured to her security detail. "Dr. Sarah Chin here teaches literature at Princeton University. She also served as a combat medic in the Marines. Michael Rodriguez is a professional musician who performs in symphony orchestras. He's also trained in hand-to-hand combat and wilderness survival." The aliens stared at the human delegation with new understanding. These were not warriors pretending to be civilians or civilians pretending to be warriors. They were something else entirely. "We don't consider these contradictory capabilities," Ambassador Thompson explained. "We consider them complementary aspects of being responsibly alive." Ambassador Crixtal spoke again, his voice uncertain. "But how do we interact with your people? How do we know when we are speaking to the peaceful version?" "You're always speaking to both versions," replied Dr. Sarah Chin, stepping forward. "When I teach students about Shakespeare, I'm using the same analytical skills I used as a medic to save lives under fire. When Michael performs beautiful music, he's using the same discipline and precision he learned in tactical training." "But what triggers the dangerous version?" asked another representative. Michael Rodriguez answered, "Threats to what we care about. If you tried to harm children in my daughter's classroom, the teacher would become a protector instantly. If someone attacked patients in Dr. Chen's hospital, the doctor would become a guardian. It's not a switch we turn on and off, it's who we are." Council Leader Rexthon addressed the human delegation directly. "Your species forces us to reconsider fundamental assumptions about intelligent life. Most species develop along specialized paths for good reason. It prevents conflicts within the society." "With respect," Ambassador Thompson replied, "we think specialization makes species vulnerable. What happens to your civilian populations if your warrior castes fail? What happens to your military effectiveness if your warriors cannot understand what they're protecting?" The question hung in the air. Many species had never considered this perspective. "Our children learn both compassion and strength," Thompson continued. "Our artists understand both beauty and survival. Our teachers know both how to nurture minds and how to protect lives. We believe this makes us more resilient as a species." Rexthon consulted with his advisors before speaking again. The Confederation has established new protocols for human contact. All species are advised that human civilians possess capabilities typically associated with military specialists. Approach with respect rather than assumptions. Never mistake human restraint for weakness. What about trade and cultural exchange? Asked Ambassador Velshan. Proceed normally, Thompson replied with a smile. We want the same things as most species: knowledge, friendship, mutual benefit. We just happen to be prepared to protect those things if necessary. As the session concluded, Rexthon made the final announcement. Earth humans are granted full membership in the Galactic Confederation under their new classification. All member species are required to update their contact protocols accordingly. After the formal ceremony, many alien ambassadors approached the human delegation with curiosity rather than fear. They began to understand that humanity's unique nature might actually be an advantage in building galactic cooperation. Ambassador Thompson's final words to the assembly became famous throughout Confederation space. You classified us as the only species where unarmed civilians and deadly predators are the same classification. But from our perspective, we're simply the only species you've met where everyone takes responsibility for both creating beauty and protecting what matters. The Galactic Confederation updated their archives with humanity's unique status, and throughout space the lesson spread. When dealing with humans, remember that their peaceful nature includes protective capabilities, not despite their civilian identity but because of it.